Hey guys, is it time to start? Oliver?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so that was some spooge music from Barbados. It's actually, most of it was created like back in the 60s or 70s, around the same time as reggae, but it didn't catch on. So we just keep doing the same songs over and over. But as you can tell, it's very interesting to listen to. And it is the first way that I got my teachers interested in Barbados. Now, with all of that said, hi, I'm Shakila. I am the Mitoya High School ALT, and I am the only Barbadian. Well, sorry, that's a lie now. There are 3 Barbadians now in Shimane, but I am the only Barbadian jet. And I've had to become an ambassador and learn a lot about minor little things I never had to think about to share with my teachers and the students. And originally my focus was just the students, how to get them interested in my culture. That was not the right way to go about it. So I decided to change tactics. I went after the teachers. So my first point is, you're an ambassador, whether or not you want to be. And you need to find your culture buddy. So at each school, there might just be one person. It doesn't have to be the JTE that you can get interested in your culture, where you're from. And you can do things like sharing music, different types of dances. In 2020, was it 20 or 21? I don't know, some year ago, when I was at Daito, they asked me about doing something for Halloween. And what I did was tell them, well, we don't really celebrate Halloween, but we have scary stories. And I told them about the legend of Heartman, who is this guy that he drives a hearse. He always comes out at night. And if you are walking past a cane field, because Barbados is covered in cane fields, he will come out and kill you and take your heart. Like, sharing things like that, because everything is very stereotypically American from what they have read. And they assume it applies to every single culture outside of Japan. So you have to make sure that you establish the differences between you and what they learned about. Second thing is, bring your own food. I know not everyone can cook, but have photos of it, like on your desktop at work. You're allowed to do that. Have maps of where you're from, like have a lot of realia around you so that people will ask about it. So for me, when I go to Enan High School, if I take any Barbadian food at all, I get a line of people, not just the teachers, but like the office staff just coming by to stare at me and wait until I'm mid-bite or mid-chew to be like, oh my God, that looks amazing. What is it? And I'm like, right? So what I ended up doing was having like lunch with some people. Each person brought a different dish and we shared the food amongst ourselves so that they could get a taste of Barbadian food. And it was actually pretty good. The feedback was good, but we never did it again because that teacher left. So you have to know which teacher to work with. Also, sports. I thought that it was weird that no one here knows about netball. Like, they're huge basketball fans, but netball, it doesn't exist. They all know about baseball, but cricket doesn't exist. I'm like, but more people play these sports, which was why I decided to do road tennis. It's a nice medium. So it's like table tennis, which they already know, except we play it on the ground and the ball is different. So if you can look in the handbook, you would see like the actual rackets. One cut out all of the rackets. The students later, they use their signatures, because each student had to pay for a racket and then decide if they wanted to take it or leave it. And they learned how to sign their names and they put it on the rackets later. And I also showed them how we created the ball. And the balls are just tennis balls with the green fluffy stuff removed. That's it. Yeah. So think of simple ways that you could incorporate the differences between what they're used to hearing and what you've experienced. Another thing I did was focus on holidays this year. So in Barbados, November is Independence Month. We start celebrating from the 1st with a lighting ceremony, and then every Friday afterwards, we wear our national colors. And this year, I got my culture buddy to actually join me. So every Friday, she would wear something blue, and then she had her gold watch and her black hair. But she had all of the colors every single week. And then on Independence Day, she remembered to wear her colors again. And I felt so proud because I didn't think anyone would want to join in that activity, but it was so simple. And it felt as though it was bringing a little bit of home to Japan. The thing about culture exchange is that while we're here, we learn a lot about Japanese culture, but then we end up reinforcing the stereotypes that they have about Western culture and not actually introducing them to ours. So let's think of some ideas that we can use in the classroom. I'm going to have a quick breakout room where you all can talk about cultural differences that you have or something minor that you would like to introduce into your classrooms and go through how you would like to implement it. Because sometimes we need help. Like you have an idea, but you don't know where to start. For me, the road tennis, I don't know how to play road tennis. I didn't have an outline for the rackets. So I actually went onto a Barbadian line group and I asked for help, and the information was faxed and emailed to me, and we were able to grow from there. So that's my main idea. And if you have any other questions, like please ask me. I'm always willing to answer. This is more of a free form session. I don't have a set structure because they got to learn to go with the flow here. Okay, so let's breakout rooms, short discussions. Okay, so can I have at least one representative from each group talk about some ideas that you've had? Or at least some differences you've noticed? Okay, Alina, go ahead.
Okay, so from my group, I talked about how my teacher recently asked me to make a special graduation class I teach at junior high school, so Sanense. And I thought about, in Hawaii, we give leis to say congratulations. So I thought of creating leis, like the students making leis out of paper flowers and straws, and giving them each other leis for graduation. So that was one idea for graduation. And that's one way I want to try to like implement my culture at my school.
That actually sounds pretty great. Like, any other suggestions, recommendations? Colin.
Yeah, so since Matsure is very like tied to Ireland, thought about doing like a St. Patrick's Day type lesson sometime in March would be good. Still thinking about how I would want to implement that, but we thought that could be a good idea. And also maybe next week, I need to figure out a way that I could potentially talk about the Super Bowl because I am painfully Midwestern and I'm from Ohio, so I'm excited about it. So maybe maybe a Super Bowl type lesson would be pretty fun.
Okay, but how are you going to do the Super Bowl?
That's what
I
I'm
have
like,
no
genuinely,
idea.
genuinely, I am still working on that because I need to connect it to like high school level English, and that's gonna be tough. I don't want them to like have to learn all the rules of football. But I think there's a lot of room for like a whole like long time activity for the like the class period could be fun. So I still gotta brainstorm on that, but
Okay, for my road tennis lesson, the teacher created a list of terms that we use, like we use nil-nil or love all when the score is 0-0. And we taught them how to say the scores because even at high school level, they still need help with numbers. So for the entire class, they had to use the set phrases for everything. So someone did something fun, a not, subarashi, like implement some, I don't know, phrases and give them some actual practical experience. I swear I know English. Anyone else? Go ahead, Ariel. Floor is yours.
Yeah, so we discussed many things, but one of the more hands-on approaches I think we were all three thinking of is cooking classes or sharing our culture through food, because we can do so many presentations, and every time we show them a picture, they're always like, oh, I'm so hungry, it looks so delicious. So it's a good opportunity to have cooking classes when Corona is not such, not so tahen sometime in the future. So yeah, we can do pies or different types of drinks, and I think that will help them to get a taste of a different culture.
Okay, Ariel, your hand is still up. Are you finished? Okay. Take down the thing. Your hand is still raised. Okay. About cooking classes, I actually did one in November, just leading up to Independence Day, and I call it Sunday food. So every Sunday, Barbadians usually have macaroni pie, rice, some kind of protein, and sweet potato pie. And my idea was, they ran with it. The food looked amazing by the end, but there were some miscommunication in between there. Like the students didn't realize like the macaroni still had to be hot when you added the cheese. Yeah. So please make sure the instructions are extremely clear. Okay, next, Layla?
Yeah. Hi, I wanted to add on to the food thing. Actually, you said now that COVID's kind of getting what what it is. It's more difficult to do food lessons, and I wanted to kind of offer a suggestion or like an idea that I did just a couple months ago. I think it worked really well. So I wanted the kids to make s'mores, and I think this could work with just try anything. Obviously, it couldn't be like an actual cooking class because of COVID and just a mess. And I have a really big class. It was 40 students in that class. So I couldn't really feasibly, it just was impossible. But what we did was we used the cooking room, and I went and set up everything beforehand for kids to like, in the case of s'mores, it was really easy for them to do it quickly. But if it was something more involved, I could have just had it there for them to try. And students actually came 10 at a time by class number to the cooking room to kind of experience the food. And then when they were waiting in the classroom, they translated the recipe and like did activities related to it. And it worked really well. Like it was born from me just really wanting the kids to make s'mores. But yeah, if you really want to do food, even in a COVID situation, we only had like 5 to 10 kids in the room at a time, and they got to experience the food, and they still had something to do in class, so they weren't like just bored sitting there waiting. So that is a possibility if you're interested. Also, really quick, I'm gonna say this really fast. Talking about sharing culture, I want to plug something. Maybe Claudine can help me with this. Claudine and I we have been doing a kind of cultural exchange event in Izmo. It's unrelated to school, but it is related to our job as cultural ambassadors. And the man who organizes it, every kind of twice a year, we go and cook for about 13 people and cook things from our different cultures. And he is looking for other people to cook things from different cultures. So if you are at all interested in kind of running a cultural event here in Izumo, where you share your culture with a bunch of very invested and very, very kind Japanese people, please get in contact with either Claudine or I, and we will make that happen for you. It's a really good event. It's really cool. Sorry, I really wanted to plug that. This seemed like the perfect place to do it. I'm done.
Thank you so much for mentioning that, Lilia. Yeah, if you want to do that, he pays for the food. We just cook. It's fun. Message us.
Yes, please do. I'm done.
Okay, is that it? Megan, Rumina?
Oh yeah, we were all talking about the kinds of food that we have in our countries, because I know that we all come from pretty different cultural backgrounds. So we also talked about games that we used to play in school and how we can relate them to lessons and things. Like Simon Says, that'll teach them more about body parts maybe, and maybe more about commands and things. I don't know. Yeah, we spent a lot of time discussing the differences of our cultures, I think. So it was very nice to hear more from them.
Other Megan?
Way to call me out. No, we talked about because I was having a hard time since we talked. I even you mentioned just games, like very small games, and even just simple things that we could do and think about, like Ramina brought up like mannerisms, and like how since she's been here, she started doing this instead of shaking her head, and like having the kids play a game where they try to use the mannerisms that you're familiar with. And you mentioned like the simple games that you could play, and I was just trying to think of like the ones that I played like when I was their age in elementary school. And I actually saw some kids the other day. Do you know that game where like you stand really close to someone and you try to push them over? I saw some kids doing that the other day, and I was like, okay. It was really funny to me to see that kids here were doing the same thing. And so I was thinking about concentration, that sort of game. And so I think there's a lot to definitely think about, and like a lot of like just little things I could plug. You also mentioned Sesame Street, and I love that idea. So
okay, anyone else with any more suggestions? Okay. This is much more fun than I thought it would be. For my sessions, my first year, I did the flower arranging class with the club, and I did not follow any of the rules. So now it's been dubbed Barbadian style or Bajan style. just stick the flowers in anywhere, and yeah, like wherever you go, you're going to stand out. So why not just lean into it a little bit? So when the teachers ask me, read something in your normal, like at your normal pace, in your accent, I go as fast as possible. And the teacher records it and goes, okay, any students that finish this passage in the 53 seconds that she finished it, you'll get a sticker. Like, yeah, it's fun. Oh, I was telling Megan about how one of my best ideas came from like the last 5 minutes of class. The teacher asked for an activity. I had nothing planned, and I saw a student snapping their fingers like this. And I don't know how many other countries do it. I assume it's also in Trinidad and Jamaica and most African nations, where there's this finger snap where you like throw your hand and it makes a different sound. So I distracted 18-year-olds for like 10 minutes, trying to get them to snap their fingers like this. And after the bell rang, they were still trying. And the next class, when it started, they were still trying to show me that they could snap. So I wanted to do this session in person because it comes across better that way. But No, it isn't. You don't, it's not this. Put these fingers together. This one is loose. You throw your hand and this slaps this area and makes the noise. No, 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 no. And in Barbados, when you're in trouble, especially if you have older siblings, because this mimics the sound of when your mom is using the belt on you. It's like, you're in trouble, mommy's going to beat you later. And it was like the perfect lesson for that time.
Shakila, I just want to say Azad was staring at me and Rumina in this room because we were doing this. And Azad was like, are you guys okay?
Yeah, but it is fun. Some of them never learn it. And most of them never do. About 10 maximum out of 30 something students get it. But it is fun and they learn it and then they're able to use it later. They might not remember what it means or where it's from, but they will remember that they learned it from their ALT in high school. Okay, Alina, go ahead.
I have a question on just how getting students involved. For example, like I have all these ideas, but I think it's my own insecurity on like implementing them. So like I want to make paper flowered lace or like teach them hula, but how do I know they're all going to be interested? And like, how do I keep them? Yeah, like how do I get them interested? How do I get them engaged? Like I'm planning to do something and I'm nervous that they're not going to want to do it. So any advice?
Who is your culture buddy?
You're on. Oh,
I'm on mute. No, wait. Who's your culture buddy? Like if
mute.
Japanese.
No, I can hear you.
Just make them do it. Force them to do it.
I can hear it too.
No,
Good
don't
advice.
force them to do it. Have a culture buddy at the school. So have
Sarah,
a
you're still on mute.
No.
I can hear Shakila, I can hear you perfectly. I don't know what's
Alina, your speaker might be.
Yeah, I think it's you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. You're not on mute. My volume was down. I'm a fool. I'm so sorry.
Okay. So this is why I was saying find a culture buddy. You need like either the librarian, one of the random teachers walking around that wants to use English. You find them, you get them interested in it. And then they tell you how to get the students to participate. So I was just showing people videos of road tennis. And then one teacher goes, we should do this with the students. That's how I ended up doing it. 2 years in a row. Go ahead, Lilia.
Thank you. Sorry, my microphone is off anyway. If like, I just wanted to offer my 2 cents to that question as well. Definitely, which I was going to say even previously, like different classes will be interested at different levels in the whatever cultural thing that you teach them, just from levels of shyness, honestly. Like over the last 3 years, I've found that what's really exciting for one class is of course like not super exciting for another class, where they might be hesitant to do it, which applies to even regular lessons. So if you struggle to find like a teacher who's willing to like help you or guide you, or you just want to do something before, like you might have that opportunity. I think it really just comes with taking a slight risk, but also like really thinking about, okay, will they want to do this? And like, how can I make it so it's more enjoyable for them? So like, if you have a really shy class, you might want to start smaller with whatever the activity is, or kind of give them a longer intro or something along those lines. Like, don't jump right into it. I teach academic classes, and I teach classes full of athletes, and the classes full of athletes are like insane, and they'll just do whatever, and they love to like participate and be crazy. So with them, we can just jump right in. Whatever I want them to do, they're super excited about it. With my academic classes, a lot of them would rather die than speak or raise their hands. So, you know, we start with like, I explain it, and then we do like a kind of mini version of it, or a pared down version where like, or something where a single person isn't like picked out. Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Oh, quickly before I forget, to dance in front of the students and Caribbean people, you know, it's either a wine or a walk up. And I was like, I don't want to do that in front of the students. That's not appropriate, is it? And I don't think they're going to get into it, but they got way more into it than I expected. It was because you think that it might not go over well doesn't mean that it won't. So just try it at least once and see what happens. Okay, Ariel.
I can't believe you whine in the schools. But yeah, just to add on to what Lilia was saying, yeah, it's true, because I've taught the same lesson, the same activity at different schools at different times. Depending on the time of the day also, you can get a different reaction. And, you know, it's difficult. You can't tell sometimes. So sometimes you go in and students are so enthusiastic and they're so excited about this. And other times, depending on the day, depending on the class they had before, the teacher, the time of the year, they may be so disinterested. And it's easy because we're talking about sharing our culture. It's easy to get, you know, a bit disappointed or despondent about it. But maybe in this way, we can try to unattach ourselves, that the word, detach ourselves from it a bit, so that we can see it more as an activity, an opportunity to share, rather than them rejecting us as us and our culture outright.
Thank you guys for all of that.
Sure.
No worries. What I also did last year was I cut off all of my hair and I started wearing scarves. I did not think anyone would notice. Well, I knew they would notice, but I didn't think anyone would actually like it or comment on it. And it became like this whole thing to see how am I going to style my scarf that day. So even if you don't intend for something to be like a culture lesson, it becomes that. I wore my hair in an afro last week and this lady just came up and started patting my head. I had to explain, you need to ask first because this takes a long time to finish. And you just putting your hands in it, it's not appropriate. And she said, oh, sorry. And then she asked, and then I gave her permission. But I mean, to be like structured, this is Barbadian or this is American culture. This is how things must be done. You can be flexible with it. Things that you don't notice are actually things that they're the main parts of your culture that you should be sharing, the things that you really find it very difficult to differentiate. So for example, here they fly kites every year around, I think May, Koinobori. We fly kites for Easter in Barbados. So I talked to them about that. Like, this is how we fly kites. We have a competition for who has the largest kite. And I've actually seen someone fly a kite in a hurricane, which is not smart. Don't ever do it. But, you know, the fact that they're like, oh, this happens outside of Japan as well is another way of sharing our culture. It's not just about the differences. It's also about the similarities. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but people ask some strange questions like, do you eat pizza in your country? I'm like, yeah, we have pizza. And someone please tell Azad, we do put pineapple on it and minced meat and and a whole bunch of other topics. Yeah. I tried telling him last night, he doesn't want to hear. So any more suggestions or
just
ideas?
to mention, it's the 10 minutes mark.
Ooh. Any more questions about activities you can potentially do?
Does anyone have any examples that are like, that have worked really well? I know you were saying we should try to, you know, include cultures that are not our own as well, but do it well. So does anyone have something that's like worked really well for them? Sorry if this wasn't where, if you had something else planned for the rest of this, I just thought I'd throw it up there.
This all about what the group needs and I can adapt to suit. Go ahead, Lexi.
Actually, I wanted to ask, would it be possible
useful for us to maybe start something where we share our more culturally based lessons or lesson materials. Because I find like when I try to include stuff from other cultures, that I really need to reference or directly talk to people from that culture so I can make sure that I have it right, and that I'm focusing on the right things to be respectful. Because I have tried lessons before where it turned out like, oh, that's not even like a holiday that like even 10% of the population celebrates. And I was like, oh, great. But that wasn't something that came up when I tried to research it. So I don't, if we could maybe have a place to share these materials with each other, that would be really awesome.
Question, what if you don't really have much presence in the classroom? Like I have a JTE that has a structure to the class and doesn't deviate. You ignore that JTE and you find another one that will work with you. Sorry, I mean, yes and no. So I have a teacher, very structured, speaks to the students in English all the time, even though they don't understand, repeats my instructions using my words to the students. So when it comes to that class, I don't do a lot of culture stuff because I know it's not going to be accepted. But with my other teachers who are more flexible, I work with them. I also work with the librarian. So if there's a national holiday coming up, a major one for Barbados, I would tell her, hey, this is coming up. Do you have something similar in Japan? Or can I put up something on the board outside? You don't have to always go through your English class. Oh, and also if you have an ESS club, please use it. Yeah. Time board, put up stuff, ESS stuff, a special, even during lunchtime sometimes. Christmas tree and jack-o'-lanterns at the entrance. Oh, my my ESS club, I got them to create scary stories for Halloween based on Japanese legends. Because usually a lot of stuff, everything is just word of mouth, and there are always variations of each story. So I'm telling them, you choose a story and you can make it your own, but just make it scary. And they had fun with that as well. Any other questions in the chat? Someone said you can ask if you can make a monthly school newspaper. If you want, you can. You can also do an English board for the entrance of the school. I was going to do that originally because my first year, I didn't have a lot of work to do. I had like 6 classes a week, and that was it. And I was prepared. I had all of these little sayings like idioms. I had holidays coming up from different countries that speak English. But then all of a sudden, they dumped more work on me, and that idea went out the window. But if I'm ever bored and I need something to fill that time, I know that I can get permission to use the notice board by the entrance to create something there. And you go to class. Hey, did anyone read today's English board?
Five-minute mark if you want to share some music.
Okay, so I'm going to share some Christmas music, which is not really Christmas music. Azad and Oliver had a test run last night. This song is called Get Out, and it's the perfect song to play when your family has been around a little bit too long. They've eaten all your food. You just need them to go. Let me do a screen share first. Forgot that part. Okay, wait. I think I stopped the screen share, but the music is still going on my end. So I'm distracted. Right. Show the differences in dialect, like how quickly we naturally speak and how we pronounce different words. And the students usually have a hard time picking out the lyrics. So I usually type it out, or I would break it down, like, what's the word I'm looking for? After each line, I would explain what's going on so that they could have an idea of what's actually going on. Because even from other Caribbean people, I've heard the Barbadian accent is difficult to understand. And yeah, ceremony, unicorn panel, okay. Distracted. Right, I also play this, there's another Christmas song that I play that's about, it's by the same group. It's also a comedy song. And it's about this woman asking for this list of things that she wants for Christmas. And all of them are inappropriate. Like she wants a new fridge, she wants 2 TVs, and a cruise for her and her man. And if any money is left back, some underwear as well. It just goes to show that for something like Christmas, the music isn't even the same based on where you are. And I like to highlight the differences because here they play that, oh my God, they play Mariah Carey to death. And none of the Christian music. And I don't want to bring religion into it too much, because then that takes things in a different direction. But I do play the culturally different music. So even last night with did a Little Drummer Boy, but the Barbadian version, and it's very, very different. So give me a second, I'll play that for you as well, as soon as I find it.
Someone mentioned
no, your screen is not shared.
Ah.
Perfect.
oh,
He smiled at me, bum. Me and my drum, shubada boom bada bang. Step forward, yeah. Play with the drummer boy. You want to play with the drummer boy. Play with the drum.
So as I was saying in the chat, I do a comparison between this and the more traditional version. And I let the students vote on which one they prefer. Like there's no pressure, there is no, what's the word I'm looking for? What Azad does with his polls, you know, he cheats. Like there is no pressure for them to choose one over the other. Okay, how much time do I have left?
Yes, unfortunately, that's it. So we're gonna be going to break now. So thank you, Shakila.
No problem. Next time I'll be more organized.